Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are tackling a topic that I think it creates more social anxiety for language learners than almost anything else.
Oh, absolutely. It's the classic identity crisis of English grammar.
Right, exactly. It's that moment in a conversation where you want to tell a story about your past, but you completely freeze because you aren't sure if you're describing what you did or who you were.
Yeah, and it's subtle. You can study English for years and still trip over this.
Totally. We were talking about the difference between used to and used to be. And honestly, even as native speakers, we don't realize how complex this is until we try to explain it to someone else.
It's so true. I mean, we use these phrases literally hundreds of times a day to structure our reality, to separate the now from the then. But if you mess up that little two-letter word,
BB.
yeah, exactly, be, if you mess that up, you can end up saying something completely nonsensical.
Or worse, you just sound like a robot. And the mission of this deep dive into the source material is to stop you from sounding like a textbook. We want to help you sound like a human being with a history. We've got a great guide today that breaks this down.
And we are really going to get into the weeds today. We aren't just doing the definitions. The source material explains how to describe past lives, habits, and states differently. We're going to look at pronunciation, common mistakes beginners make, and we're even going to role play a bit so you can hear how these sound in the wild.
I love a good role play.
Yeah.
But let's start with the basics. The source material draws a pretty hard line between these two structures. It says one is for actions and one is for conditions.
That is the headline. But we need to unpack what that actually means, especially for someone just starting to grasp these concepts. Let's start with the one everyone learns first, just used to.
Right, like I used to play soccer or I used to eat gluten. It feels fairly intuitive. But before we get into the grammar, can we talk about how this actually sounds?
Oh, please, yes.
Because when I see it written down, USED space TO, it looks like it should be pronounced USID too.
Yeah, please don't say it like that.
I know, right?
Mhm.
But that is a huge trap for beginners.
It really is. In natural spoken English, the D and the T just blend together. It sounds more like the word pasta, usta. I used to go. I used to see.
So it used to go.
Exactly. And conceptually, the guide defines used to as a tool for past habits or situations that are, and this is the critical part, no longer true.
That no longer true part is the kicker. I feel like that's where the storytelling comes in for you. If I say I drank coffee yesterday, it's just a fact. But if I say I used to drink coffee, I'm implying a whole lifestyle change.
You are. You're closing a chapter. You're telling the listener, that person who drank coffee, that is not me anymore.
Let's look at some brand new examples of this past life concept. Let's imagine we are describing a life we had 10 years ago, focusing purely on actions.
Okay, let's look at those past habits. First example, I used to write letters by hand.
Well, that's a good one. Writing is the action.
Exactly. It's a verb. It implies you sat down, got a pen, and did the action regularly. But you don't do it now.
Right. Now we just send texts. Okay, give me another one about a past life.
We used to play outside until the streetlights came on.
So nostalgic. And again, play is the verb. It's a repetitive action from childhood that has definitively ended.
And a third example, she used to travel for work every single week.
Okay, so the action is traveling.
Right. So in all three of those examples, writing, playing, traveling, we are looking at a movie reel of a past life. We are watching people do things.
Precisely. Used to plus a verb is about the movie of your past actions. But I have to challenge you on something here. The guide brings up a verb that always confuses beginners. Live, as in we used to live near the river.
Ah, the live dilemma.
Yeah, because living somewhere,
Yeah.
that doesn't feel like an action. It's not like kicking a ball or cooking a meal. It feels like a state of being. So why isn't it we used to be live?
I get this question all the time from learners. It totally feels like a state. But grammatically, English treats live as something you do. It is an activity. You reside. You occupy space.
So I shouldn't overthink the philosophy of it.
Don't get philosophical just yet. Look at the grammar. Live is an action verb in English. Therefore, I used to live. If you say I used to be live, you are essentially saying I used to be broadcasting on television.
Which is almost certainly not what you mean.
Probably not. So for verbs like live, work, and study, even though they feel like long-term conditions, they're grammatically actions. I used to work at the bank, not I used to be work at the bank.
Okay, so used to plus an action verb is the movie of what we did. Now here is where it gets really interesting. Let's pivot. The source material says this next part is where students usually hit a wall. We are adding the word be, used to be.
This changes the lens completely. We are no longer watching the movie of what you did. We are looking at a static snapshot of who you were or how things existed.
So this is about identity and states.
Identity, descriptions, states of existence. The formula changes here. It is now used to be, followed by a noun, an adjective, or a place.
Let's give our listeners 3 new examples focusing on a past life, but this time using used to be.
Okay, let's start with a place, because places are huge for this structure. Example 1. My neighborhood used to be very quiet.
I see. We aren't talking about an action the neighborhood did.
Right. Neighborhoods don't do things. They just exist. So we use used to be plus an adjective, quiet. It describes the state of the place in the past.
Okay, give me another one.
Example 2. He used to be a professional musician.
Ah, so this is an identity, a noun.
Exactly. We aren't describing the action of playing guitar. We're labeling him with a noun. A musician. That was his title in his past life.
Yeah, one more.
Example 3. I used to be terrified of public speaking.
Terrified. That's an adjective describing an internal state.
Yes, it describes a past condition. You can't say I used to terrified. You absolutely need the verb be to connect the person to the adjective. I used to be terrified.
This seems to be especially common when we talk about places, right? The source highlights the description of locations as a major use case for used to be. Could we spend a little extra time on that?
We should, because it's so common. Think about it. Places do not perform actions. A building doesn't run. A street doesn't cook.
They just sit there.
They just exist. So almost any time you describe a building, a town, or a room in the past, you are going to need used to be.
Like this building used to be a cinema.
Exactly. It's a transformation. Identity A, the cinema, has become identity B, maybe a grocery store now.
Or the streets used to be cleaner.
Describing the physical condition of the location.
Okay, I want to do a quick summary for you listening to highlight the core grammatical difference we've found in the source so far.
Go for it.
If you want to talk about past actions or habits, things you did, you use used to plus an action verb, like I used to run. But if you want to talk about past states, identities, or describe a place, you use used to be plus a noun or an adjective, like I used to be a runner.
That is the perfect summary. That is the golden rule.
Awesome. Now, before we get to our role play, we promised to list the 3 most frequent mistakes beginners make with these structures. Let's call these the trapdoors. What is trapdoor number 1?
Trapdoor number 1 is the spelling when making questions or negatives.
Oh, this one is so frustrating.
It really is. When you write a positive statement, it must be USED, used with a D. I used to play, but when people create questions or negatives, they get totally confused.
Because of the word did.
Exactly. The correct question is, did you use to play? With no D on use. And the correct negative is, I didn't use to play. Again, no D.
That is maddening. So the D disappears if you use did or didn't.
Yes, because did already carries the past tense. You don't need to double dip on your past tense markers.
Okay, what is trapdoor number 2?
Mixing up the 2 structures we just learned, this is when a learner says something like, I used to be go to the park.
I used to be go.
Right. They are trying to combine both worlds. They throw the be in there because maybe they think it sounds more advanced or native. But you cannot have be and a main action verb like go right next to each other like that.
So it's just, I used to go,
Plain and simple, I used to go.
and the third mistake.
This is a massive one, confusing our grammar today with a completely different phrase, to be used to.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That is tricky.
Very. I used to drive means I drove in the past and now I don't. But I am used to driving means I am accustomed to it. It is normal and comfortable for me now.
Right. I am used to the noise versus I used to make noise. Totally different meanings.
Totally different. To be used to is about comfort levels. But for our deep dive today, we're sticking strictly to the past tense narrative.
Okay, I think we need to hear this in action to really lock it in. The source suggests hearing these in context helps tremendously. So let's do 2 short role-play dialogues. I'll play one character, you play the other.
I am ready.
Scenario 1. We are old friends visiting our hometown. I will start. Wow, this town used to be so small.
Yeah, we used to walk everywhere.
Pause. Did you catch the difference there?
I hope they did. You said, used to be so small. Small is an adjective describing the town's past state.
And you said used to walk. Walk is an action verb describing our past habit.
Perfect. Let's do dialogue 2.
Okay, scenario 2. We are talking about a difficult old job. I'll start again. You used to be so stressed at that old job.
I know. I used to work 12-hour shifts.
And scene. Okay, break that one down.
Sure. You said used to be so stressed. Stressed is the adjective. It was my condition, my state of mind.
And you replied with used to work. Work is the action. It was the physical reality of your schedule.
You can see how they naturally dance together in conversation. You really need both structures to tell the full, authentic story of a past life.
Which brings us to the great comparison part of the episode. I want to put these side by side. I have 3 pairs of sentences here that look incredibly similar, but vividly demonstrate the difference between the doer and the state of being.
This is the ultimate test. Let's hear them.
Care number 1. Sentence A. Used to work here. Sentence B. This place used to be an office.
This is the classic doer versus identity comparison. I used to work here focuses entirely on you, your labor, your activity.
It's the movie of me doing my job.
Exactly. But this place used to be an office focuses on the room itself, the walls, the purpose of the space, the identity of the location.
So if I'm standing in a coffee shop that was converted from a bank, I would say, this used to be a bank. I wouldn't say, this used to bank.
Right, because this used to bank sounds like the building itself was handling financial transactions all on its own.
Pair number 2. This one is about personal fitness. Sentence A, he used to exercise every day. Sentence B, he used to be very fit.
It's subtle but distinct. He used to exercise is all about his routine. The sweating, the running, going to the gym, it's the action verb.
The movie again.
Yes. But he used to be very fit is about the result, the condition of his body. Fit is the adjective.
Can you use them together?
Absolutely. You could say he used to exercise every day, so he used to be very fit. The past action leads to the past state. But notice, if he stopped the action of exercising, he might not hold the state of being fit anymore.
Okay, pair number 3. This one hits heavily on that identity piece we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Sentence A, she used to teach. Sentence B, she used to be a teacher.
Oh, I really love this one. She used to teach describes the job, the physical act of standing in front of a classroom and delivering information.
It's just a task.
Exactly. But she used to be a teacher describes who she was. It was her label, her societal role, her identity.
It actually feels much heavier to say she used to be a teacher.
It does carry more weight. When you stop teaching the action, you just change your daily schedule. When you stop being a teacher, the identity, you change how you define yourself.
Wow. Okay, so we really geeked out on the grammar here. We've done the formulas, the traps, the role plays, but I always like to bring it back to the listener. Why does this matter for you?
It matters because of human connection. Think about being on a first date, or think about a job interview, or just making a new friend at a party. What is the very first thing you do?
You swap backstories. You tell them your history.
Exactly. You trade histories.
Mhm.
If you cannot effectively distinguish between what you did and who you were, your story falls flat. It sounds one-dimensional.
Mastering this allows for so much nuance. I can say to a new friend, I used to be a lawyer. That's a whole scene. It tells you about my past status and identity. And then I can follow it up with, but I used to work 80 hours a week, and I used to be miserable.
Look at how much rich information that just conveyed. I used to be a lawyer. That's your identity. I used to work. That's your habit. I used to be miserable. That's your internal state of mind. You just told a compelling, multi-layered story in 3 short sentences.
And if I just used the simple past, like I was a lawyer, I worked hard, I was sad, it sounds, I don't know, a bit dry.
It sounds purely factual, like a police report. Used to. Adds a thick layer of nostalgia. It emphasizes the vast distance between then and now. It tells the listener, hey, I have changed. I am not that person anymore.
That is such a powerful idea, that language isn't just a tool for transmitting cold facts, it's a tool for signaling personal evolution.
It really is. The source touches on this idea that mastering these structures is really about communicating your own evolution.
It's the fundamental difference between doing something differently today and actually becoming someone else entirely.
And that is the philosophical nugget I want to leave everyone with today. Because as humans, we are constantly shedding our old skins. We have our old habits, like I used to smoke, and we have our old identities, like I used to be a smoker. English gives you 2 very specific, separate grammatical tools to mark the graves of those past selves.
To mark the graves of our past selves,
Wow.
that got a little dark, but I really like it. It shows that even basic grammar has real emotional weight.
It does. Grammar is just the framework for emotion. So my advice to everyone listening, don't just memorize the rule we gave you today. Think about your own past life. Who did you used to be? And what did you used to do?
And try to catch yourself.
Yeah.
The next time you are telling a story in English, just take a tiny pause.
Yeah.
Ask yourself, are you describing the movie of your actions? Or are you describing the snapshot of your identity?
Because once you start noticing the difference in native speakers, you will never be able to unhear it.
And that is exactly where the fluency happens. Thank you all for diving deep with us today into the nuances of our past lives.
Keep practicing, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video. See you next time.